So from all that you've said, it sounds like you've both put quite a bit of yourselves into this book. So I think it's only fair for you to share a little bit about yourselves. So we'll start with Denise. How did you get into studying interpersonal communication?
All right, well, I'll reveal the true secret. When I was a freshman in college, when I went to college, I wanted to go someplace where I could get a degree in communication. I had been the editor of my high school newspaper, and I enjoyed the life of reporting, and I expected to grow up and be a broadcast journalist. And I am chronically linear. One of the reasons I think the book is organized so well is because things have to happen in a certain order for me. And so, of course, the first course I signed up for was Communication 101, because it was the first course. And it was called Dyadic Group and Organizational Communication. So I went in, I took this course, and I'm learning about interpersonal communication over the course of the semester. I couldn't believe that people could do this for a living. I loved communication, and I loved studying relationships, and I'd always paid attention to things that happened when people talked to each other. But it never dawned on me a person could make a career out of studying interpersonal communication. So pretty much by the midway through the first semester of my year in college, I thought, oh my God, I want to do this. And really, I never had another thought about it. I have spent the rest of my major taking courses in order, of course, but pursuing my studies of communication studies and interpersonal communication in particular, and then went on to graduate school, and I've always been in the discipline. I think what struck me in that first semester, and I talk about this a little bit in the book, was the unit we did on attribution biases and conflict. For me, coming to understand how inherently flawed we are when we're and how biased we are when we're in a conflict situation, that flaw, that disruption to our processing and perception of messages in conflict underlies and explains so much. It explains we're so self-centered when we're in conflict. We're so biased in favor of our own point of view. It's so hard for us to take other people's point of view in conflict. And yet if we can, so many good things happen. And so just wanting to understand that process and the subjectivity of message processing and how it's at the root of so much turmoil and conflict within relationships, it's the thing I've been studying all along. But that was, my other career was broadcast journalism. and I ditched it within 6 weeks into the semester because I find interpersonal communication so fascinating.
So, Jen, did you have such a linear approach to interpersonal comm, or is it a different journey?
Well, I had a very similar start to my journey. I went to undergraduate thinking I wanted a career in public relations, as many undergraduate majors in communication do. So I majored in communication, anticipating a career in public relations, and two kind of magical things happened, I guess, when I was an undergrad. The first was that my work-study job as an undergrad was in the Faculty Development Resource Center as a research assistant. And so I was responsible for maintaining a library with books about how to be a good college professor. And I put together bibliographies for the college professors at my college about how to lead good discussions and how to create good assignments. And it got me really interested in a career as a university professor. But a university professor in PR didn't sound as interesting once I took a class on interpersonal communication. And so I had this class on interpersonal communication. I remember that we had a group project that we had to do, and our group decided we were going to do it on nonverbal behaviors that indicated attraction. And I just kind of fell in love with that activity. I really enjoyed that project. I kind of took charge and really wanted to get into it, and I got really passionate about it. And I think through my whole life I've always been really interested in people's relationships, their family relationships, their romantic relationships. And in college I was chronically single, and yet offering advice every chance I could get to all of my friends who were dating other people and listening to their stories about their relationships and trying to figure out why people behaved the way that they did in their relationships, why this relationship would flourish while this relationship faltered, and what it was about the communication between those people that made a relationship successful or made it a failure. And so it seemed like kind of a natural convergence for me to become a university professor in a role where I could continue to research people's relationships and focus on what makes them strong and what makes them weak, and teach other people about how to make their relationships stronger and why things happen in relationships that are unexpected and that we're unprepared for, and how to respond to those situations. So I've always been really passionate about other people's relationships and helping them. I'm not chronically single anymore, but I try to apply the things I know to my own marriage. It's hard sometimes, but we all do. So yeah, I've always been interested in other people's relationships. I'm kind of the spy.
See, I think that's why this book is so important to Jen and I, because we both had experiences in that first interpersonal communication course that just opened our eyes to how interesting this material is and how interesting this discipline is, and we ended up devoting our lives to being part of it. And so we wanted to write a book that brings that passion alive for other students who are engaged in the classroom for the first time and are just now learning about interpersonal communication. I love teaching this course because I remember what it was like for this all to be new. And I want to recreate that moment or as students are going through that, I want to recreate that learning experience and help them gain the excitement that we had. Not that everybody will stay in the field forever,
Right.
And not that you have to, because interpersonal communication is such a useful skill, no matter what kind of business you go into. You know, we are always asked, well, what can people do with a communication major? And certainly people teaching this course will have to be prepared to answer that question for students. And I always tell students that, you know, this isn't a vocational major. It's not like nursing or elementary ed where you have a pretty good idea of what you'll do when you come out the other side. But there's no facet of your career future that won't be enhanced by being able to develop a friendship, to be able to influence people, to be able to manage a conflict, to be able to provide comfort and support, to be able to articulate an idea clearly. These are skills that will help people no matter what career they go into.
Yeah.
And we do have students who go into fields of social work, public relations, law school is a frequent outcome for students who are communication majors, human resources, any kind of managerial position. Interpersonal communication is going to help you succeed in all of those career domains, but then it's also going to help you succeed in your personal lives. And it's hard sometimes when you're in the middle of a conflict and you know that your good communicator shouldn't say what your bad communicator is about to say. And I think, I mean, I'll speak for myself, my own personal life has benefited from the fact that I do know better. And sometimes it can feel really good to just launch a zinger. But usually if you care about the relationship, it's a little bit better.
You know the outcomes as well.
Exactly.
And you can also then take a moment to educate the person you're talking to.
Which I wouldn't always recommend. It doesn't go over all that well sometimes.
Well, thank you for sharing your passion with the students and the instructors who will be using this book. I think everyone is going to be changed by what you have put together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very
Awesome.
excited about it.